Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be continuing the series I started quite a little while back where I'm ranking the weapons of Star Wars Battlefront 2. And the ones I've done already is the Assault class and the Heavy class. Now I'm up to a bit more of a funner one, which is the Officer class. Now the reason why I'm saying it's a bit more fun is because I find it's quite a bit more controversial than the others. There's two weapons in here that kind of divide each other. You have the Blurg versus the SC-44C. Now, thankfully, I enjoy both of the weapons, but there is one I do prefer more than the other. So just remember that this will be solely on my opinion and my playstyle, so one of those weapons is going to be suited a bit more to my playstyle than the other. So if you agree or disagree with the list, just pop it down in the comments below and let me know what your favorite weapon is and why. Because, you know, we all have our own playstyles and we all have our own strengths and weaknesses, so the choices of weapons we'll have will vary. Now, one more thing just before I get this started is I'm just going to remind that each class has 9 weapons and 6 of them are based over the defaults. So just like usual, what I'm going to be doing is I'll be keeping all 6 in one ranking. So this will remain as a rank of 4. So, yeah. Let's get on with it. So coming in at number 4, I have the defaults. Now I think it's no surprise that I'll mainly be having the defaults in last position. It's usually just the weapons that start you up, you know, the ones that get you started in each class, and then you slowly rank up to the other weapons, and you pretty much skip them behind. But in fact, on the Assault class, I did actually have the defaults above another weapon, so, you know, they're not all that bad. But for the Officer class, they're not that great either. And so I'm just going to really quickly go through the description that the defaults give. And that is that it is a fast-firing pistol serving as the Officer's primary blaster. Now overall, the sound and appearance of the weapons as per usual are great. I do get a lot of good nostalgia, especially from a few of the defaults. A few of them not so much, but there are definitely a few of them that are very iconic. Now I guess the defaults are still pretty good in short to medium range combat. I would never trust them in long distance combat, but to be honest, a lot of the Officer weapons I wouldn't trust in long range combat either. But just like all the other classes, you can't put any attachments onto them, so they are what they are. And for the Officer class, they're just meh, really. And it's not very technical terms, but they are what they are. So briefly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly just say what all the default blasters are, quickly show them off, and then we'll go on to the rank 3. Okie dokie, so the blasters are the SC-44. The Grind 44. RK3. DH-17. RG-40. And the DC-17. Alright, so now the defaults are out of the way. I tried to keep that one as plain and bland as simple, just said, you know, they are what they are. But now, we are into the nitty-gritty side of things. These top 3 are definitely used by many people. 2 of them mainly, but the other one still, you know, gets its users, like myself. So, coming in 3rd position is going to be the Blurg 1120. Now, don't get me wrong, I definitely think that this is a very capable gun, and it's a very good gun, and I can see why people would rank this as their number 1, but sadly, it's just something I don't get luck with. I use it a lot, but I get more luck with the other weapons that's coming up on the list. And as I said, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. Now really quickly, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say the quick description that the Blurg gives, and that it is a small holdout blaster with a 2 blast burst mode, named after the Blurg, a strong and stoic creature native to the planet Ryloth. Now really quickly, I'm also going to say the attachments that can be put on the Blurg, and the first one being the reduced recoil, which is something I definitely use for the weapon. And now the next one is something I find is very necessary for the Blurg, and that's the improved burst. Because I think without it, it's just too dull, and it needs that bit more oomph. So I really recommend the improved burst for the Blurg if you're using it. And there is a 3rd one, it's explosive shot, we can go on from that. But if it was just going for the sound and appearance alone for this weapon, it is amazing. It gives great memories, especially from the Rebel series. And obviously it is a really good weapon, especially for short to medium range combat. I wouldn't trust it in long range. As I said, just like nearly all of the officer weapons, they're all mainly those short to medium range. And I would just like to remind that I do find this a perfectly capable weapon. I've versed many people that are very good with it. Some sadly do have that explosive shot, which, you know, yuck. And I would just like to remind one more thing, is that I'm not downgrading this just because of the explosive shot. I don't like it, so I choose not to put it on the weapon, but that's not going to destroy the ranking system. I just don't have the luck with this weapon. So I see why people use it, but it's just not my cup of tea. So now we're going to move over to rank number 2. And just gonna say that this was a bit more of a difficult ranking because I use these 2 weapons a lot depending on the map. I like both of them, but 2nd place is gonna go to the S5. Now, the beauty with the S5, and in my very humble opinion, I find that out of the range of the officer class weapons, this is probably the only one that requires a considerable amount of skill to use. Because knowing you have to do one shot at a time and it has a very slow fire rate, you just need to be accurate as hell to actually get this thing working. And I find that having that much more of a challenge for using a weapon is so much more fun, and it's a lot more satisfying when you do actually end up getting the kills. Now, I find that with the S5, it's more better in a medium to long range situation. Now, short range, it can be good. As I said, you need to be good to get that thing working, especially in short range, because there are many other classes and weapons that can outmatch the S5 in short distances. Mainly pointing toward the CR2, Blurg, or the SE44C. Weapons like those can really outmatch the S5 in short distances, but the S5 can outmatch them in medium to long. So it's a good counterpart for the longer distances. Now, the brief description that the S5 gives is that it's a hard-hitting hand cannon. Operatives in the Naboo security forces choose the S5 for its greater precision and range. Now, the attachments that you can put onto this beautiful weapon is the reduced recoil, which is something I use, dual zoom, which I sometimes use quite a bit, especially for bigger maps such as Geonosis or the first phase of Hoth, or even the first phase of Crate. I do sometimes switch though to the very underrated ion shot. It's very, very handy with the S5, and I use that one quite a bit as well. So I do always use a reduced recoil, but switch between the other 2. Now, the sound is very nice, I do like it, but I must admit that the appearance of this weapon is probably one of my favorite appearances for this game. It looks so good, it looks like a Western weapon. It just looks fantastic, and it is just a perfectly capable weapon, and I find it's a very underrated weapon, knowing many do go for the opposite to the Blurg or the SE44C. And I would like to remind that I do actually use the second place weapon, which was the S5, and now the first place weapon respectively. It all depends on the map. So this is more like a tiebreaker for me, but obviously I do have to put the numbers on. So in my head, it's a tiebreaker, but for the video, the number 1 spot is gonna go to the SE44C. And the main thing I can say about this one is that it just shreds the enemy. It's a really capable weapon. Unlike the S5 though, which the S5 takes a lot of skill to use, this one not so much. You can be very placid using this thing, but it does do the job very well. Now quickly, the brief description that the SE44 gives is that the SE44C was issued to First Order officers as their primary blaster and came fitted with a ruthless, fully automatic firing mode. And the attachments are improved calling, which I use a lot, the night vision, which is handy but I don't use too much, and the much needed rapid fire, which, just like the Blurg, I feel like these weapons kind of need those extra bit of oomph. I really like the sound and appearance. It looks really cool. I'm pretty like thinking that the Blurg has the better appearance and sound. I'm not saying that this one's bad, but I'm just saying that the other one might be a little better when it comes to the sound and appearance. So as I said, I do actually alter between the S5 and the SE44C respectively, between longer distance maps and shorter distance maps, because I find like they're both reliable in different ways. Because if I use the default Blurg or SE44C on Geonosis or the first phase of Hoth, it's not going to be accurate, and you would have to get really in there to start getting some kills going. But with the S5, you can actually rely on being further back and still get those kills. But obviously, the other ones I just mentioned will be better on shorter distance maps like Naboo, or Phase 2 and 3 of Crate, or even Camino. So there it is, the SE44C is going to be my number 1 pick for the officer class weapons. I find that it's really handy in medium and short distance gameplay, lacks in long distance, but it still shreds either way, while respectively having the S5 right behind it as probably one of the most underrated weapons on the game that does take a lot of skill to use. So I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know if you do actually agree with my list or if you disagree with my list. Just let me know what your playstyle is and why you think yours is better. And yeah, we'll have a good chat about it, and that's going to end it. The specialist should hopefully be coming soon, and I will see you all in the next one.